Historical cover-ups, 10 mysteries lost to time. The Pharaoh's erased queen. The sands of Egypt heap secrets well. For over 3,000 years, the Nile's shifting banks and desert dunes have hidden entire chapters of history. Among them lies the mystery of the Pharaoh's erased queen. Her name once decorated temple walls, her face carved in stone alongside symbols of divine power. Yet centuries after her reign, her images were hammered away, her inscriptions chiseled into nothing, and her statues buried or changed to look like someone else. Most experts point to Queen Hatshepsut as the likely suspect. She dared to rule as pharaoh during Egypt's 18th dynasty, around 1479 BCE. For decades, she held the throne, wearing the false beard of kingship and overseeing a golden age of trade and building. But years after her death, her stepson Thutmose II seemed to order her memory systematically destroyed. The official reason was politics, erasing her to restore a clean line of male succession. Yet strange details keep the story from being simple. Some of her monuments were left untouched, as if someone in court defied the order. Inscriptions with her name are hidden deep inside temples, visible only to priests. In one remote quarry, the chiseling was left unfinished, as if the workers were interrupted or lost their nerve. Some historians suggest even stranger possibilities. Hatshepsut's reign matched trade expeditions to the mysterious land of Punt, a place experts still can't find on a map. These journeys brought exotic goods like frankincense and myrrh trees into Egypt. Could Hatshepsut have brought back more than goods? Perhaps knowledge or alliances that threatened Egypt's power. If so, erasing her would hide the deals she made. The careful nature of the campaign feels different from typical Egyptian rewrites of history. The fragments of her face we've recovered still carry quiet defiance, reminding us that history is not just what happened, but what someone wanted remembered. The vanished Library of Alexandria. In the heart of the ancient Mediterranean stood a building that seemed almost mythical. The Great Library of Alexandria. Founded in the 3rd century BCE, it aimed to gather every text from every culture: Greek philosophy, Egyptian records, Babylonian astronomy, Indian mathematics, and Chinese maps. Official history tells us the library fell victim to accidents of war and time. Julius Caesar's siege in 48 BCE, later invasions, and the shift to Christian Rome all played their part. Yet no ancient source clearly states when or how the entire library was destroyed. Its death is a foggy collection of rumors with gaps big enough to drive a chariot through. Some historians suspect the destruction story was partly a cover. The library's rulers confiscated manuscripts from travelers, made copies, and kept the originals. Over decades, this would have collected unique, possibly controversial works that could challenge religious doctrine or reveal advanced technologies. More extreme theories suggest parts of the library's holdings were secretly moved rather than lost. The Serapeum, a sister library, was rumored to hold the most dangerous scrolls, including astronomical charts suggesting Earth was far older than officially allowed. Beneath modern Alexandria lie massive stone vaults sealed since ancient times. Excavations are slow because much of the city sits underwater. Officially, no direct link to the library has been proven. Unofficially, whispers persist of artifacts quietly removed during underwater surveys. The forgotten city beneath the desert. The desert can hide almost anything. One such hidden place is the ancient city of Tanis in northern Egypt, swallowed by sand and erased from official records for over 1,000 years. French archaeologists rediscovered it in the 1930s, revealing streets, temples, and royal tombs preserved in amazing condition. Yet Tanis doesn't appear in the major historical records of the time. The rulers who built its grand temples are mentioned elsewhere, but their connection to this vast city is mysteriously absent. Why erase it from the official story? Among the artifacts were stone blocks with inscriptions clearly from other temples, moved from cities abandoned centuries earlier. How did they get here? Was Tanis built using pieces from older, perhaps more controversial sites? The burial goods tell their own story. Gold death masks and jewelry matched earlier dynasties' quality, but with symbols that don't quite fit the standard Egyptian gods. There are hints of foreign influence, suggesting Tanis might have been a cosmopolitan center whose cultural mixing threatened Egyptian identity. The censored scrolls of the Dead Sea. In 1947, a young shepherd searching for a stray goat tossed a stone into a cave near the Dead Sea. Instead of hearing an animal, he heard pottery shatter. Inside were ancient scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, dating back to the 3rd century BCE. From their discovery, the scrolls were surrounded by secrecy. It took decades for all discovered manuscripts to be made public. Only a small circle of scholars had access to them. Were there passages that conflicted too strongly with established religious teachings? Among the most debated are scrolls describing messianic figures other than Jesus, written around the same time as early Christianity. If fully understood, these could rewrite parts of religious history by showing that the concept of a savior wasn't unique to one movement. The scrolls are incomplete, not just because time damaged them. In the decades between discovery and publication, pages of humanity's oldest surviving records seem to have gone missing. The missing emperor of China. China's imperial history is famously well documented. Yet between the familiar names lies an unsettling silence. A missing emperor whose reign seems deliberately erased. The mystery centers on the Qin dynasty, China's first unified empire, in 221 BCE. Archaeological hints suggest that after Emperor Qin Shi Huang's death, there was a brief reign that doesn't appear in the official timeline. Excavations of administrative seals refer to imperial decrees from an era that doesn't match known rulers. One peculiar tomb in Shaanxi province contained jade burial suits and ceremonial weapons. The inscriptions had been violently damaged, the personal name gouged out while leaving the title Son of Heaven intact. Whoever lay here once claimed to be emperor, but their identity was deliberately removed. The silenced builders of Stonehenge. On England's Salisbury Plain, the great stones of Stonehenge mark the solstices with precise alignments. For centuries, historians have debated who built this monument. Yet buried beneath the debates is a quieter mystery: the near-total disappearance of the actual builders from the historical record. These people transported blue stones from Wales, over 150 miles away, long before wheels existed in Britain. This suggests an organized society with sophisticated knowledge. Yet we have no surviving name for them, no written records, no preserved tradition claiming responsibility. Around 2300 BCE, at Stonehenge's peak activity, genetic studies show a sudden demographic shift. The original builder's genetic signature largely disappears, replaced by people from continental Europe. It's as if the builders simply vanished. The precision of the stone's astronomical alignments has led some to suggest the builders possessed knowledge considered too advanced for their era, knowledge that may have unsettled those who came after. The disappearing gods of Mesoamerica. Across ancient Mesoamerica, stone temples rise toward the sky, their walls carved with fierce deities. These gods once shaped the lives of millions. Yet in some regions, entire pantheons seem to vanish from the record as if erased by their own worshippers. In certain city-states, entire deities disappear abruptly. No gradual decline, no blending into new forms, just sudden absence from carvings and temple murals. At the Maya city of Piedras Negras, depictions of the maize god dominate early monuments. Then within a generation, his image is gone, replaced by other symbols. Often this erasure was the work of those who once revered them, an act of cultural surgery that left civilizations without divine figures they once held sacred. The covered-up collapse of the Indus Valley. In present-day Pakistan and northwest India, archaeologists have uncovered remains of one of the world's earliest urban civilizations, the Indus Valley or Harappan civilization, flourishing from 2600 to 1900 BCE. Its cities were marvels of planning with grid-like streets and advanced drainage. Yet later cultures in the region seem to have almost completely ignored the Indus Valley's existence. The Vedic texts make little mention of these once great cities. It's as if the Harappans were not merely forgotten, but actively written out of cultural memory. Despite decades of study, no one has deciphered the Indus script. If they could be read, they might reveal accounts of the civilization's final years, and perhaps explain why its memory was suppressed. The forgotten African pharaohs. Along the southern Nile in today's Sudan lies Nubia. Here, an ancient kingdom rose that ruled Egypt itself for nearly a century, yet was later almost erased from history. These were the pharaohs of the 25th dynasty, whose empire stretched from Africa to the Mediterranean. After their defeat by the Assyrians, Egyptian scribes treated them as little more than a footnote. Their monuments were defaced, their names scratched from walls, their achievements attributed to others. Egypt's later rulers preferred to emphasize Mediterranean connections rather than African roots. For centuries, Western scholars downplayed Nubia's role, portraying it as peripheral rather than powerful. The Kushite pharaohs were not just a side chapter. They were Egypt's rulers, builders, and defenders. The city that vanished beneath the sea. For over 1,000 years, Heraclion existed only in myth. Ancient Greek texts spoke of it as a great Egyptian port where Helen of Troy once sought refuge. Yet by medieval times, there was nothing. No ruins, no coastline, not even a whisper of its location. Sometime around the 2nd century BCE, earthquakes and rising seas caused the city to sink beneath the waves, taking centuries of history with it. As Alexandria rose as Egypt's dominant port, Heraclion faded from memory. In 2000, underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio discovered its remains off Egypt's coast. Beneath layers of silt, divers found colossal statues, temple ruins, and hundreds of inscriptions, evidence of a rich city long forgotten. Conclusion: across these 10 shadows in the historical record, a pattern emerges, not of isolated mysteries, but of human memory deliberately unpicked. Ancient stones that should be standing have vanished. Scrolls that should be preserved are reduced to ash. Names that once carried power are reduced to whispers. Perhaps these cover-ups were acts of control, or desperate measures to protect knowledge from falling into wrong hands. Either way, our picture of the past is fractured and often misleading. Yet in questioning official stories, we quietly piece together something closer to truth, one uncovered fragment at a time. The greatest cover-up of all may be that history is never truly lost, only hidden, waiting for the right moment to resurface from the shadows where someone tried to bury it forever.